Hi everyone, it's Sheri Vegas here, and in this Artist Tips Thursday, I'm going to be doing a really quick tutorial about how you can create that 3D ocean foam effect. So I recently showed this effect in a tutorial, which I will link up above, but I had so many questions about it, so I thought I would do this video going a bit more in depth on how you can achieve this. So to create this effect, you need 3 ingredients. You need water, dishwashing liquid, and Mod Podge. I did try this with PVA glue instead of Mod Podge, and I did find that the Mod Podge was a lot more effective at holding that bubble shape. The PVA glue, when I did mix it up and make it, it would still create the foam. It looked exactly the same, but I found after about half an hour, all of those bubbles had completely popped and I completely lost all of that structure. So I do find that the Mod Podge is a lot more effective in achieving this ocean foam. Now, when you do mix it up, you're going to want to do about sort of 3 to 4 parts Mod Podge, and then just a part of water and a part of the dishwashing liquid. Basically, the Mod Podge is going to be what it will set and dry and hold. The water is just to help make it a bit more fluid, so you can do a bit less water if you are finding that your Mod Podge and your sort of consistency of your mixture is too thin. And then your dishwashing liquid just helps you create those bubbles when you blow the straw in. I also find that if your bubbles are too big, you're going to have a higher chance of it popping. So you definitely want to make sure that you just get the cute little bubbles and not the really big ones. So generally I'll use my straw, I'll blow it up to get the sort of bubble, the air basically in my mixture, and then I like to use my straw just to break down those big bubbles and get the perfect size ones. I also do like to add white acrylic paint into my mixture, just because I do find that if you don't do that, when it does set, it's going to have like either a tinge of whatever color your dishwashing liquid was. So if you've got like purple or green dishwashing liquid, you're going to have that like sort of undertone through it. So by adding that white acrylic paint, it makes your bubbles stay white when they do set. And also too, sometimes Mod Podge can set with like that sort of yellowy tone to it. So you definitely want to be adding in some white acrylic paint, so that way when it does set, it still looks really white. You might also find that you have to do 2 layers because some of the bubbles will just pop naturally. So I generally go through and I do 1 layer, add all my bubbles in, let that fully set, and then decide if I need to go back in and add some extra bubbles on top. You can leave that Mod Podge mixture for quite a few days before it does start to get too thick. So don't feel like you have to mix up a new batch every single time. Sometimes I do find it is a bit helpful if you do leave that mixture to kind of like set a little bit, get a little bit thicker, so it kind of holds the shape of the bubbles. If your mixture is too thin, then you're going to have a really hard time in those bubbles sort of staying in that shape. So you might need to adjust the ratio too, maybe a bit less water, a bit more Mod Podge. It all just kind of depends on what works best for you. Another little trick you can do if you really want to lock those bubbles into place, once they have set, you can go over with a light coating of resin. I've seen a lot of people that use UV resin because then they can set it really fast, and that just means that those bubbles are going to be extra hard and firm. But you can also leave them uncoated. You don't have to necessarily coat it in resin. It just comes down to a personal preference.